like to think I am. I just bought myself a pretty funky new hat. But what's your secret? What's your secret? What advice can you give to a 6'7" pasty white guy from Middle England? How do I act cool?
How do I act cool? I think you're a funny guy. Now, if I said tan, that would be funny. But I think you gotta just be yourself. I think.
But I've tried that, LL, and it's not working.
Eye of the beholder. You know what I mean?
Well,
probably a few people who don't think I'm cool, but that's all right too. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta be who you are.
I don't want to embarrass you, but I have been known in the past to rap. LL, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable.
Get in where you fit in.
Would you mind if I just gave you a couple of rhymes?
I mean, if you're gonna twist my arm, yeah, go ahead, give me a little bit.
But I don't want you to feel in any way this is disrespectful. I am doing my best. I'm just perhaps not naturally as gifted as you. Here it comes.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right, here it is. Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years, rocking my peers and putting suckers in fear, making the tears rain down like a monsoon. Listen to the bass go boom. Explosion, overpowering, over the competition I'm towering. Wrecking shop when I drop these lyrics that'll make you call the cops. Don't you dare stare, you better move, don't ever compare me to the rest of the lot. Get sliced and diced, competition paying the price. I'm gonna knock you out.
Stop. You're gonna get me put out of business. You sound too good.
Were you pretty impressed by that?
Yeah, you sound hot, man. I mean, I hope Russell's listening. He want to sign you.
Listen, when you're making your next record, if you need someone in just to maybe lay down some stuff with you, just in the studio, I'm more than happy to come over.
Absolutely, man. Your flow's impeccable, man. Incredible.
Did you hear that, everyone? My flow is impeccable.
Impeccable. Your flow is inscrutable.
Oh, come on, what about that? That still sounds as good as it did at the time. Round of applause for Steve.
Yeah, well done. Yeah.
I think possibly I was a touch nervous and I raced through the rap perhaps a little faster than I should have. But I think, you know, I mean, LL doesn't hand out compliments willy-nilly.
No.
Michael, you hearing that for the first time, impressed?
I would have said that your flow is many things. Heavy. I would say you've got a heavy flow.
Yes.
But not necessarily impeccable.
Inscrutable is an interesting choice of word for it.
It is more of a discharge than a flow.
It's sort of a brackish water, rather than anything else.
Released at the beginning of the year, and from the album Little Death, that's Pete and the Pirates and Mr. Understanding. Before that, of course, Noah and the Whale and 5 Years' Time, which was quite a popular tune back in the summer. Steve Show 6 Music, Merry Christmas to you and a Happy New Year. With Tiny Dan here, we got Rufus, Sammy from the North, and our guest here, actor Michael Sheen. A round of applause for Sheeny. Mr. Sheen, before we move on, as obviously we're playing tunes of the year, maybe we should also look back at some of the big news stories of the year. But before we do that, when can we see you in the forthcoming movie Frost Nixon, which I understand it features the Golden Globe nominated Frank Langella.
That's right.
And then it'll say on the thing, won't it? Golden Globe nominated Frank Langella. Michael Sheen.
That's right. Actor. Welsh actor.
Yeah.
Michael Sheen.
Yeah.
It'll be. Yeah.
Lucky to be in a movie.
Yeah.
Actor Michael Sheen.
Grateful to be working at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael Sheen.
So we got you in that, and that's released when? Sort of end of January?
That is coming out January 23rd here in this country.
And there's a lot of buzz about this, a possible Oscar contender. The Globes often point
not me,
towards,
obviously.
Not you,
but
no, of course.
everybody else involved.
Hey, it would be lovely to be associated with someone who's won an Oscar.
Wouldn't it?
Wouldn't that be great? Just to, well, I guess you worked with dear old Ronnie Howard.
That's right, I did. And of course it was the same on the Queen. Helen Mirren, obviously,
of course,
Oscar winner.
Yeah. Oscar winner, of course she was.
Yeah, the film was up for Best Film and Best Screenplay, Best Music, Best Costume.
I think for you, again,
for me.
It's, they're obviously just not... Because obviously in both those films you're playing real life people.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what they're annoyed by.
Maybe.
Or
maybe they're just annoyed by me.
They're annoyed by you, they're just thinking that's not like David Frost. That's not like David Frost,
Yeah.
really.
Well, yeah.
It sounds a bit like him, but who can't do a David Frost?
Yeah, exactly.
Someone was sat round, probably, you know. So that's coming out, and then you've also got, because remember last year you came in, your hair was very long, you were about to make a vampire.
That's right, I was about to go to New Zealand to do Underworld 3, which I did, and bizarrely, that is coming out on exactly the same day as Frost Nixon.
That's fantastic.
So you can go into one cinema, or you go in the same cinema, in fact, go into one little part of your multiplex and watch me going, there's Davy Frost, and then go into
There's one of
another
the
one.
reasons you weren't Golden Globe nominated.
And then go in the other one and see me going rawr as the Pirate King.
Yeah.
In the Pirates of Penzance.
As far as I can tell, I don't think I need to see either of those films. You've captured them in a nugget.
Thank you.
Quite perfectly.
Yeah.
And so, yes, in a way, you're appealing to sort of both movie demographics. The slightly
All
more
food
art
groups
house
are covered there.
Yeah, the art house crowd, and also the sort of idiot fanboy crowd.
Yeah.
I don't know what the crossover is on that Venn diagram, but yeah, that would be fantastic. And of course, all the more frustrated for someone who wanders in looking for a recreation of the Watergate.
And finds me tearing the neck out of various vampires.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or maybe not.
I don't remember this from the interview.
I'm sure this would have got more news coverage.
Typical Hollywood dumbing down.
And if 2 films are not enough, and you want more of Sheeny, then you've only got a couple of months to wait until The Damned United comes out, where I give my Brian Clough.
Oh, you're doing Cluffy as well.
Yeah.
Now, is it starting to frustrate you that you're only ever cast as real-life people? Is it because you're so good at these recreations of them that...
As I said before, I'm grateful for the work.
Yes.
Given that I don't win awards.
Yes.
I'm just grateful to be getting the
for the money.
script, to be honest.
And is there much of an audience for the Brian Clough story? This is in the cinema?
Yes. Yeah.
People are going to pay money for this?
Yeah. Why? You don't think there'd be people...
No, I mean, I'm all for the small British film, and good luck to you, but is it are there going to be people in any other part of the world that will be interested in the Brian Clough story? Does he have a big following in, say, Hong Kong? Or?
I'm not sure. It's not necessarily a film that's going to travel, as they like to say, or play outside of the UK. But I think on the strength of the performance, the non-award nominated performance,
but not for one moment would I doubt that it's not going to be entertaining. If you're involved, I'm certain it will be. It's just more the idea that someone's actually put up money for a cinema version of the Brian Clough story.
Well, it's not necessarily the Brian Clough story. It's an adaptation of a novel called The Damned United.
Okay.
Which was very popular.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think it's a film that will appeal to the audience that are not interested in watching presidential interviews or werewolves, and vampires killing each other.
But by God, they want their Sheen, don't they?
They want their Sheen.
Wouldn't it be amazing if this time next year you come in and we're all talking about how the Brian Clough story beat Batman as the highest grossing film of the 21st century.
Yeah. I'll come in and I'll laugh in your face.
Yeah, for some strange reason, it caught the imagination of every single cinema-going person from here to Nairobi.
But if one thing's weird about Nairobi, Steve, it's the fanatical loyalty they have for Leeds United, Arsenal, Everton. The Premiership in every country of the world, particularly having spent a bit of time in Africa this year, as soon as you step off the plane, you're assaulted by flags, stickers, strips,
posters of Brian Clough.
Yeah.
Cloughie, do you know Cloughie? Are you familiar? Do you know Cloughie?
Yeah. Come in my taxi. Good Cloughie story. Yeah.
Wow.
The best thing is in America, everyone says, so, what is this movie about Brian Clough?
Of course. Yeah. Wow. And so, are there anybody else you're doing afterwards? I mean, are you working your way down the sort of levels of celebrity? So,
I remember someone wrote in an interview said that talking about, he was an actor and he didn't have any work, and he said, I'm sure Michael Sheen is working on his brilliant portrayal of Rod Hull. And I thought, well, there's an opening there.
The great thing about the Hull story is that actually, that's interesting to me, because he had an extraordinary life, wasn't he? Because what was amazing about Rod Hull is he was quite the ladies' man, apparently.
Really?
Yeah, he was apparently, this was sort of the Daily Mail coverage of it, that he was quite the ladies' man. And then, of course, there's always that moment when he obviously tragically fell off the roof while adjusting the aerial, and I think all of us imagine that Emu was still on his arm at that point, causing havoc.
And isn't an emu a flightless bird?
Well, of course.
If only.
But if Emu's up there with you, of course he's going to be tugging at the aerial, or he's going to be pecking at you while you're trying to adjust it. Of course you're going to fall off. Yeah, I think I would love to see the Rod Hull story, but prior to that, would you give us a musical choice?
I will. I have chosen a song called A Step in the Walk by the Duke Spirit.
Thank you very much indeed. Michael Machine's choice on this Christmas edition of the Steve Show. And what was it again, Michael?
It was The Step and the Walk by the Duke Spirit.
And why did you choose that one in particular? Are you have you been across the new music this year?
Well, no, I've spent so much time out of the country this year that I just have no idea, you know, what's got big and what's not. So, but that was one album I thought was fantastic. Like, is Ronan Keating quite big? Yeah.
Yes.
He is.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Because I was going to go for him.
You're going to go for him, but
Yeah.
well, he's got back with one of his old bands.
Is he back with Take That?
Yeah. Yes, he is. Yeah, and they got a great new album out.
Yeah.
Called Leona Lewis. So
fantastic.
So we're all looking forward to that.
Yeah.
We were talking about your forthcoming appearance in the Brian Clough film, and I don't want you to think I was being negative, but you know, it's interesting how those little esoteric films often will find an audience for people who don't really know about the subject, and particularly in America, they always make kind of quirky little films about sort of forgotten people. But I remember someone telling me that they were trying to get off the ground a story of Eddie the Eagle Edwards, which strikes me again as a subject which probably is
Yeah,
not.
and I think it is going to happen, but in an earlier version of it, I was going to do it.
Oh, you were going to do it?
Yeah, and I remember I was doing a play at the National Theatre at the time, and I went for the audition. Well, it wasn't really an audition; it was more like to be put on tape, you know, and then sent to America and all that kind of stuff. And so I had, because the play at the National was in rep, used to have a couple of weeks off in between performances. So I grew a little tash, and I went down Brixton Market, bought myself a shell suit.
Wow.
Yeah, and
you really wanted this role.
and I went into the National sort of wardrobe and costume and props department, got myself a good pair of 80s glasses, living with my girlfriend at the time in Clapham, and ordered a cab to pick me up, to take me there, and I went in the full regalia.
As Eddie the Eagle?
Yeah, as Eddie the Eagle, with the full underbite. It doesn't work on radio, obviously.
Sure, yeah.
But the full underbite thing going on. And
where was he from, Eddie the Eagle?
He was from, like Bristol or something.
Did you
like
have the
that.
accent down?
Yeah, I got the whole thing going. And so I come downstairs, taxi's waiting outside, and walk out in the shell suit and with the tash and the glasses and everything. And my girlfriend, who's a very attractive lady, was standing waving me off. In a sort of some negligee.
Of course, because she's in the 1976.
Exactly. I live in a carry-on film.
Yeah.
And so she's waving me off, and I'm in the taxi, and I could see the taxi driver looking at me, looking at this incredibly gorgeous, sexy woman waving me off, and thinking, how the hell did you get her? And then the film never happened.
Oh, what a shame! I think that would have been tremendous. But it's interesting you said that the American people were going to finance.
Yeah. Well, plucky
They wanted
Brits,
to, I suppose.
You know, the Cool Runnings. Remember that film, Cool
Yeah, of
Runnings?
course, yeah, I suppose
the
so, the
Jamaican
underdog.
bobsled team and all that similar kind of thing.
I want to think who the obvious other people that we could make movies of. Sir Clive Sinclair, you know, the C5 story.
Cracker.
C5.
Yeah, C5.
C5
movie. He had a plan that would change the world. In a world where 4 wheels are just too many.
But he only had a battery that had 4 watts. Yeah, wow. Yeah, well, no, these all sound tremendous, and I look forward to them enormously. But before, I know you've got to get going, but I was just, because you say you've been out of the country, I don't know if you're familiar with some of the big news stories this year. Because aside from, obviously, I just was going to get your take on things like the Terminal 5 debacle. I'm sure you've got an amusing sideways thought on that.
Oh, do you know, I've spent so much of the year talking about it. I just can't be arsed.
I know exactly what you mean. A couple of the other stories that you may have overlooked. Man admits to having sex with 1,000 cars.
Yeah, like I say,
with that story?
I was hoping that one wouldn't break until after the show.
No. I thought it would have been enough. But he said, this is a quote from his wandering eye had spread beyond cars to other vehicles. He says his most intense sexual experience was making love to the helicopter from 1980s TV hit Airwolf. How on earth do you even get a date with Airwolf? And how you then, where would you start in terms of having any kind of relations with Airwolf? I don't know. I don't know if Jean-Michel Vincent was still sat inside at the time, or indeed Ernest Borgnine. I imagine that enough to turn any man's head.
What would the pillow talk be like? Is the propeller slowed to a kind of slow, gentle spin? And you stroke the tail. Wow.
Or maybe a threesome with Kit from Night Ride.
Oh, that's
amazing.
That's pretty horny.
Yeah.
There was quite a lot of stories like that this year. There was obviously man's penis stuck in park bench. Do you remember that one?
Different man.
Different man.
Or same man.